أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد عدد كمال الله وكما يليق بكماله سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك فلك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد بعد الرضا نويت التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله مرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الفاتحة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Alhamdulillah, today we are at page 41 and we are looking at the second thing which Imam Ghazali tells us to avoid from. The first one, if you recall, he tells us to avoid getting into arguments. So the second one is talking about staying away or not having the intention to be a preacher and warner. So do not aim to be a preacher or warner unless, the caveat here is that unless you have the intent, unless you have practiced what you preach first. All right, so you cannot be aiming to just be someone who just tells people what to do if you yourself have not told it to yourself and have not practiced it. This is a general principle which people have overlooked today, right? Which is why people in the past, they are more effective when they teach. Because why? Because they have tried whatever they wanted, whatever they will be the first guinea pigs of their own message. So whatever that they're going to tell to people, they have already practiced it. So it becomes easy and more effective when they present it to people. Why? Because when you practice something, means you have gone through the rigors of saying it, all right, of doing it, right? You have gone through the rigors of, you understand the difficulties, the trials and tribulations, and the advantages of it, or the benefits of it. So when you tell people, it's more eloquent. Secondly, also, when you practice what you preach, all right, people will be able to tell, right? People can tell if you are someone who just reads from the book and just tells it to them, all right, in a very theoretical manner. But if you are speaking from experience, people will immediately understand or appreciate whatever you say because they can relate to you. All right, they can relate to you. So it's important for us, and this applies not just to us as a normal someone who wants to become a preacher, but also as parents, as someone who's in the workforce. All right, always know that if you want to tell people to do something, make sure that you have actually done it first. So, it's, for example, if you are someone who is a leader at a workplace, all right, the most effective way to get your subordinates to work for you or to do what you tell them to do is for you to show them that you have gone through that process, that you are doing it as well, or you do it with them as well. All right, you do it with them as well. All right, so then they have that respect for you. All right, and same goes for if you have children. All right, if you have children and you want them to do something, for example, you want them to perform their prayers, it will not work unless they actually see for themselves, all right, that you are one who perform their prayers. Okay, this avoids us from being hypocrites. What are hypocrites? People who tell you one thing but they do not actually perform it. Allah says in the Quran, "Lima taqulu nama la taf'alun." Why do you actually say things that you do not act upon? Okay. And in becoming someone who's calling to religion or becoming a preacher, all right, what are the some things he says? Beware of artificiality. Okay, so this is what we covered last week, but we're going to recall. All right, beware of artificiality in speech. What does this simply mean? Means that firstly, your intention is not right. Your intention is to impress. Now, the purpose of calling people to goodness is to call people to Allah, not to yourself. So if you are seeking to impress, it means that you want people to acknowledge you. All right. So there's a difference between seeking to impress and seeking to enhance. It is not wrong, therefore, to use, all right, complementary tools of teaching. For example, but the Prophet, when he teaches, sometimes he gesticulates, sometimes he gestures, sometimes he draws a diagram. So when the Prophet does all this, all right, it is actually meant to enhance the message. So the Prophet, despite his high level of language mastery, which is of the highest level, when he speaks to people, he always speaks to their level of understanding. And when he speaks to different tribes, all right, when he speaks to different tribes of people, he will also ensure, all right, that he speaks in their dialect. This is the specialty of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah gives him this ability that when he speaks to people of different groups or different dialects, he addresses them in their specific dialect that they are more familiar with. And therefore, we should try to understand that as well. When you speak to people, know who you're talking to. If you're talking to a child, all right, you must speak in such a way that they understand you. One of the mistakes we make when we talk to people, and this is very important for us to think of, is that when we speak at the level of that person, two things. One, you must speak at the level where they can understand you, but that does not mean that you actually descend yourself to their level. For example, if you're speaking to a child, you must make sure that your message is, for example, simple and interesting. Because a child is interested, is very interested if you are fun. But that does not mean you become the child. So when you engage in baby talk, all right, if you're talking to a child, you do not become the baby. So some people, when they speak to the child, in order for them to actually get to the level of the child, they start to speak in bad grammar, they start to speak in bad English. That's not right. All right. So for example, if you go traveling, and I learned this from my colleague, if you go traveling, for example, you're going to Vietnam, all right? If you're going to Vietnam and you have a Vietnamese tour guide, all right, that person, for example, if he speaks with an accent and with a problem with grammatically incorrect, which was one of my experience when I went there last time, all right, in response, you should not actually try to mirror them. So your standards must still be the proper standard. So it doesn't mean that when you reach out to people and when you try to reach out to them, all right, when their level is of understanding or comprehension is lower than them, that you lower your levels. It means that you need to modify your message to their understanding, but that does not mean that the form of your message is compromised. So you do not start to speak in their dialect, start to speak in their accent, or you start to actually have a problematic grammar. Because when you start to do that, it actually can come across as very insulting towards them, like you're making fun of them. So when you're speaking to someone, just speak, but the point is that it must be understandable. You can have tag. You can make it simple, but you cannot be, this person speaking broken English, you also speak in broken English. No. That's lowering yourself. So the Prophet at all times when he speaks, people know that he has a good command of the Arabic language. All right. In fact, if you have a good preacher, is one that is able to actually formulate his content or his message to the understanding of people without compromising his own stature. All right, some people become lowly. All right, they become lowly because they lower their standards. You don't lower your standards. You just vary your approach. Okay. So his Allah the Exalted, Allah Ta'ala, his pretension and the person pretentious beyond bounds gives evidence of inner confusion and a heedless heart. So don't try to use bombastic words to impress people. Don't. All right. If you're going to use bombastic words to tell them, it's fine. So I'm going to use this term now. This term means what? It's okay. But if you're going to use a bombastic word and it actually compromises their way of understanding, then it defeats the purpose. It can turn people off sometimes. Right? If you start to speak in a highfalutin language and then they don't know what is this guy talking about. All right? All people always think that, oh, the more incoherent you are, the more knowledgeable you are. That is a very problematic statement. Because the Quran is described as al-bayinat. It's clear. So message must be clear. It cannot be incoherent. Some people think, oh, I like this guy, he's deep. Why? Because I can't understand him. Then what makes him good? If that person is so deep that you drown in your understanding of him, then it's not good. The purpose of message is supposed to be clear. So don't try to impress. In fact, in making dua, if you make a dua, don't try so hard to craft it. If you're making your own personal dua, you're doing a dua for yourself. Don't try to craft words. No, just say a simple dua. If you understand better, if it's easier for you to say, oh Allah, help me through this, then say, oh Allah, help me through this. Oh Allah, assist me through this tribulation. No, whatever you understand, it's your understanding. Oh Allah, help me through this difficulty. That's it. Oh Allah, assist me through this rampage of tribulation. Oh, relax. All right. Allah gets you. Allah gets what your heart is saying. All right. The articulation is just a means. So what is from the heart reaches the heart, surely. And what is from the heart reaches Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But if what is from the heart is actually is corroded by the intention to impress, it will not reach Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and it will not reach the people. All right, just say it. But again, another mistake we make is that, oh, therefore I can just be straightforward, I can be hurtful. That is also not right. So there's one extreme whereby they are so flowery, they're seeking to impress that they undermine the message, the clarity of the message. There's those that says, okay, being clear means I can be straightforward and I can therefore seek to hurt people. That's not right. The Malay word for it is called sentap. That is not the way to do it. I purposely want to tug at your heartstrings. I want to jerk you into understanding. So I really hit you. No, it's not right. If someone gets hurt, will he want to listen to you anymore? The purpose of telling a message is to create awareness, not to cause hurt. If that person becomes hurt because he becomes aware, then that's not a problem. But if you deliberately seek to hurt that person, all right, hoping to jolt him out of something, then it's not good. Because if he is hurt first, so if he's aware and then he's hurt by the fact that, oh, I've been ignorant of this one, that's different. But if you seek to hurt that person, you bruise his ego, and you feel satisfied about it, that person will be far away. That's why you always see in some of these in certain parts of the world where some of our Muslim brothers, they try to engage people aggressively about the religion, to batter them down, to whack them down in an argument. You never see these people actually turning back to the religion. In fact, it starts to, okay, I'll stay away from them. They'll stay away. Look at the Prophet ﷺ, when this is the beautiful part. When he engages with people, this is Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, they come back all the time. Why? Because he doesn't seek to condescend towards them. He speaks to them. All right, he speaks to them as how they, as people who are distinguished in society. All right, as distinct. That's why the Prophet in hadith is always show that if a delegation or a leader, he will always exhort them. He will give them the respect that they deserve. All right, he doesn't seek to gain victory. All right. The meaning of tazkir, all right, tazkir is reminding, is that the servant should remember the fire of the hereafter. Now, this is where it is important, right? So I will summarize all this. All right. The purpose of tazkir, when you give reminder, is for someone to should remember the fire of the hereafter. I will read this whole paragraph first. All right, and then I will tell you what is it that I seek, what is it that I will summarize what it simply means. All right. So the meaning of tazkir is that the servant should remember the fire of the hereafter and his own shortcomings in the service of the Creator. So when you talk to someone about this, all right, it's supposed to remember of the hereafter and also to know of his shortcomings, because it's intertwined. You can't be thinking of you can't be concerned about the hereafter unless you seek to improvise yourself or become a better person. So the purpose of message, therefore, the outcome should be for that person to be more aware of the impending hereafter, and at the same time, that person must be made aware of his shortcomings. That's the purpose of telling a message. Okay? He should reflect on his past life, which is squandered in what did not concern him. So it's supposed to be a message that triggers that person to reflect, to think about his past. All right? He should think about the challenges that lie before him, such as the possible invalidity of his iman at the end of his life. So, for example, you should actually give the scenario whereby, what if we work so hard, but at the end of the day, all right, our iman is removed from us. We have our iman all the way, but at the last point, that's why the Prophet says in a beautiful hadith, he says that so many people, all right, they have done so much that there are some people who perform some amount of deed to the point whereby he is, all right, within distance, within reach of paradise. But at the end of his life, he started to act upon misdoings and evil, and he enters hellfire despite being so close to paradise. All right, to show about how risky, all right, or how vulnerable our faith is if we do not protect it. His condition at the time that his soul is seized by the angel of death, and whether he will be able to answer the questions of the angels Munkar and Nakir in the grave. So that should be the outcome that we work towards, that someone is aware of an impending death, which is the gateway to the hereafter, and in doing so, that person starts to reflect on himself. Okay, so that is one. Now, he should also think of his condition on the day of judgment at its various stages. It is something that we don't like to think about. We don't want to think about it, and we have no time to think about it. In fact, we try not to think about it. We try not to think about death. Allah says in the Quran, this reality. Allah says, "Qul innal mawta alladhi tafirruna minhu fa innahu mulaqikum." Say, O Muhammad, innal mawta alladhi tafirruna minhu, that death that you try to run away from, that you try to escape from. Tafiruna minhu fa innahu, it will certainly mulaqikum, catch up with you. When he said running away from or not or evading death is not a physical action per se. It is your conscience trying not to think of death. It's something that we put away. We try not to think about it. That's why sometimes out of his compassion for us, Allah puts us in a situation where we have no choice but to think about death. Right? You have 3 months left. You have 1 week left. When doctor gives you that diagnosis, you have no choice but to think about death. It's coming. You are sentenced to death. You are sentenced to death by hanging. May God have mercy on your soul. From that day onwards, you start. And that is a privileged position for some people, as much as we don't see it. Oh, mashallah, it's going to be scary. But now you're prepared. The Prophet ﷺ says that one of the mishaps for a person is when death comes upon him when he's not prepared. A sudden death. All right, a sudden death. He should think of his condition on the day of judgment at his various stages and whether he will be able to cross the bridge. So it continues. After you die, you'll be able to, whether you'll be able to cross the bridge safely, or will you fall into the fire of hell. He should continue to think of these matters in his heart so as to shake his placidity and make it alert. Tazkir is lamenting for these calamities, telling people about them, warning them about their flaws and negligence, showing them the defects of their soul so that the heat of these fires will touch the people of the assembly. And these afflictions make them impatient to rectify the past years according to their ability, all right, and regret their past days passed in other than obedience to Allah the Exalted. All this carried out in this way is called preaching. Now, how does this work? Now, if someone were to tell you all these things, he will come across as preachy. All right? It'll be quite a turn off, right? Someone comes to talk suddenly about death. Okay? Okay? So, but how do you make this kind of message palatable to people? One of it is for you to actually get used to saying it to yourself. You should be the first person to tell yourself that death is impending. You should be the first person to reflect on your own inadequacies. You should be the first person that says all this. So when you say it to someone, it becomes heartfelt. All right? And when you talk about people about their shortcomings, it can come across as condescending. Right? Sometimes tell people, someone who has not prayed, all right, to address, or someone who has been wasting his time, all right, to start making use of his time, it can come across as intrusive, as condescending. But if you actually put yourself, all right, as part of the one that's being reminded, you come across very humble. So when you remind someone, always remember that you are actually reminding yourself as well. So the nature, do you like to be reminded harshly? You like to be spoken down to? You like to be condescended upon? No. When you speak to someone, you'll want for the message, as hard as it is made palatable to you, it is made acceptable to you, it is made easy for you to absorb and act upon. So whatever you are delivering to people, tell yourself, if it was me on the receiving end, will I be able to accept it? So it's important for us to know. So as heavy as the point is that you must have a sense of awareness. That's why I said in delivering, all right, there are 4 things you need to consider. All right, when you deliver a message, you need to consider 4 things. All right, you need to consider 4 things. When you deliver a message, you need to consider yourself first, the one who is preaching. What are your strengths and weaknesses? All right, if you are someone who is hot-tempered, maybe you should not be the one that engages someone in that way. All right, and if you're someone who is hot-tempered, then how do you engage people? All right, then you should engage people not in the heat of the moment. All right. Maybe if you are the hot-tempered person, you should engage someone when it is over something that's more relaxed, over food, in a relaxed environment. Because if you're hot-tempered, there are so many people who preach, right? They end up looking worse than the people they're preaching to. You have to know yourself. Secondly, you have to know the context of the person you're talking to. This is the Prophet's most important aspect of doing da'wah. You must know who you're talking to. All right? You cannot just homogeneously attribute everyone to the same kind of message. No. You must know the background of the crowd you're talking to, the audience you're talking to, their situation. So when I'm invited to give a talk at Police Academy, all right, every year, all right, when I talk to them, I'm most aware that I am talking to them after their training hours. So I'm talking to them starting from 8 to 9:30, and it's been a long day for them. So I must be aware of their context. If I start going preachy, if I start to beat them down, if I start to be fierce towards them, say I've had a long day. In fact, I've been talked down to by my instructors. I've been scolded by my instructors, and now I'm having this at night. All right, so there is a need to change my approach. Right? Or if I start to do a book reading for them, oh, they'll be turned off. It's a long day and you're taking a book. It's like going for night school. Right? So I need to modify my approach. So why? Based on their context, based on their understanding as well. Third, you need to identify for all the issues of the person you're addressing, which is the most pertinent issue. We are limited people. Someone that you address might have a family problem, work problem, financial problem, spiritual problem, mental problem. One person can have all these problems. Now, which one will you address? Which one is the one that you can address in the most meaningful and consistent way? Oh, there's so much problems. Don't try to be Superman. Outsource or I try to help the financial part. Hopefully you help in one way, it opens up the gateway to other solution for other problems. You don't have to do everything. That's why one of the problems in Da'wah, sometimes we see someone as one package, one lump package. That's not how it works. Break down that person. This person is this. All right. Then you address that particular issue. Right? Now, you don't try to particular. That's why if you go to if you're in a hospital with multiple chronic diseases, you notice that it's not one doctor that tends to you all the time. You have different specialists coming to you. There's a doctor that takes there's one common doctor that oversees everything. But at the same time, this one checks for this one is responsible for this. This one checks for this. All have different specialists. All right. You can't be a jack of all trades. Oh, you want to do everything. No, you can't. All right. You can't. All right. So find one problem. Okay. And be consistent towards it. The problem with us in our society today, we cannot identify. And when we've identified, we are not consistent. Okay. We are only generous in Ramadan. I always tell people, oh, in Ramadan, wow, we're always doing things. I said, if people need food, it's in Shawwal. In Ramadan, they don't need food. They are fasting, right? So you want to give food, good. But then make sure you continue Shawwal. Shawwal is when they are in most need. Because why? They are human beings like us. They are Muslims like us. They need food for Idul Fitri. They have guests in Idul Fitri. When you have guests coming to your house, you're not going to serve them an empty plate. You're going to have to serve them. When you serve them, you have to serve them. And at the end of the day, you have to serve your own family. Don't you think that you need more food in Shawwal than in Ramadan? So nothing wrong in doing a project in Ramadan. Hey, what happened in Shawwal? All right. And after Shawwal, when you have spent so much, you have used up so much, then you need to sustain yourself for the coming months after that. The months after Raya is the most painful to the pocket. We all know that. We have given up money to young people come to our house. We have to give them ang paos. We have to give them green packets. We have to give them food. You will be drained by the end of Shawwal. Have you ever thought about that? No. Oh, you can give a simple conclusion. Who asked them to serve food? Who asked them to give green packets? Oh, it's easy for us to say. But if you're in that situation, the dignity is important for some people, right? For most people, in fact. So we need to actually be aware of that. Right? So I'm always not impressed with people who do projects in Ramadan. Good, but I'm not impressed. I'll be most impressed if I find out that they continue into Shawwal, Zulqaidah, Zulhijjah, and all the months that come after that until the next Ramadan, which sadly is not the case. Which is sadly not the case. Okay. And the fourth thing you should take note of. All right. The fourth thing you should take note of when doing da'wah is therefore to understand. So first is know yourself. Know the context of the person you're talking to. Identify the issue you want to help with. Fourth, now you start to plan on how you want to do it. Planning is most pertinent. You have to plan. Now that I've identified, I want to help this person financially. How will I help this person? Oh, we are focused on getting it. Oh, getting it started. Crowdfunding. Okay. Now that the fund has come in, how do you ensure that it's sustained? How often do you help? How do you make sure that it's something that is continued? Oh, you need to plan all this. All right. We like to celebrate premature victories. I notice in our community, we do one successful project, we celebrate. That's like Manchester United. They won one game against Chelsea, and then they are celebrating like, oh, they've won, they have turned the corner. And look at what happened to them yesterday. That's not good. All right, it's not good. Talking about dunya, mashallah, Ustaz. All right, it is as though, so back to the text. It is as though you saw a flood approaching someone's house while he and his family were within, and you cried, danger, danger, flee from the flood. All right. What you should ascertain here is that you cannot save your neighbors from the flood if you are not safe from the flood as well. All right. So when you're telling people danger from the flood, you have to actually affirm to them. You have to convince them that you saw the flood. And I'm telling you, I saw the flood. It's coming. All right. It's coming. All right. Escape. So would your heart desire in the situation to convey your news to the man of the house in pretentious sentences accompanied by gestures and jokes? No one will wish such a thing at all. Such is the status of the preacher, and he must avoid such things. Now, therefore, Ustaz, can we joke when we preach? What is the things you need to understand? When you are doing da'wah, you must know what is the foundational essence of it and what is the peripheral essence. When you buy a dish, you go to a nasi padang stall, you must know what is the main dish, what is the side dish. All right? You should never you should know. So for example, if you're eating, there are some condiments that's the main dish. For example, if you go to a nasi padang stall, the meat is your main. All right? The second meat is your peripheral. Nak taruh kuah, you want to put gravy. Gravy is peripheral. Veggie, you can consider as peripheral. It's something that, okay lah, just to balance it out. Can you survive your veggie? For most of us, oh, of course, no veggie better. All right, no veggie better. Example. So for example, if you're doing da'wah, can you have humor? The Prophet has been known to articulate humor, but humor is not his main content. Humor is not his main essence of his da'wah. You can have all this. All right, you can have anecdotes. You can have humor. It helps in keeping the person awake. But it cannot be the main gist of your message. If it's the main gist of the message, then it's like a stand-up comedy session. All right, so you must be mindful of that. All right, so the essence must not be lost. Now, that also depends on the platform of da'wah. If your platform of da'wah is a session that is laid back, maybe. All right, or if it's supposed to be, if I'm doing da'wah, for example, I'm doing a performance. All right, I'm doing a performance that calls for example, I'm doing a stage performance and it's for to do da'wah. Okay, then I can put humor can have a more foundational role in it, fundamental role in it. But here, Imam was talking about in general, when you talk, you must never let the humor overwhelm the essence of the da'wah itself. Humor is something that is complementary. It is not main. So some of us, sometimes in doing da'wah today, sometimes it becomes the main. So what is the danger of this? So people now decide, oh, this guy is not funny, I will not attend. They're waiting for the funny. They're not listening to the message. They're waiting for the funny part. So they remember the joke, but they don't remember the message. That's problematic. All right. Okay. Now, therefore, having looked at all these paragraphs, all right. Imam, I can summarize the 3 paragraphs here, all right? The 3 paragraphs that we have just covered, all right? In saying what is therefore the essence of da'wah, all right? When you're calling someone, what is the 5 essence? Just now I said, the 4 factors, all right, that you need to consider. Now, here are the 5 essence of da'wah according to Imam Ghazali. First, your message and delivery must be genuine and heartfelt. Essence. So when you talk to people, it must be genuine. You cannot craft words, try to impress them. It must be genuine and heartfelt. Okay. Second, it must lead them into thinking about the hereafter. That is the main objective. Whenever you talk to people, you must remember that you're talking to someone to tell them about a reality that is more ominous. That is scarier than what you're facing now. So, first one, your message that is sent to someone must be genuine and heartfelt. I'm just summarizing what Imam Ghazali says here for his point 1. Second, it must lead to the hereafter. Whenever you talk about someone, always make them consider about this has repercussions in the hereafter. Right? You must have repercussions in the hereafter. So even though you're helping someone financially to get back on their feet, you must have that objective eventually to get them on their feet so that they can get their family together, to get their family back on track, so that they can be accountable in the hereafter as responsible parents, example. So it must be, you must make it the objective as hereafter. You must also work them towards that. If the preacher himself, all right, if the caller to da'wah himself has not the hereafter as an intention, there's a start of a calamity. So even though I'm helping someone financially, I don't have to tell that person first that I'm helping you, all right, so that you can be safe in the hereafter. I don't have to tell you that. But me, when I'm doing that, my plan has a clear, my mind map, or what is it called? My roadmap must have the hereafter in mind. So I'm doing da'wah. For example, I'm helping this family financially. All right. I might not tell the person, I don't have to tell that person that I'm helping you this so that you become good for the akhirat. You not be that now. Because they will scare that person. I'm helping you now so that you don't be burned in hellfire. All right. They will close the door the next time you see you. All right. But you yourself must know, I'm helping this person so that this person can get back on their feet, can be responsible, the kids don't run away, and they can be made, all right, they can be in a better state in the hereafter. All right. I already said this. So for example, helping someone financially. Someone used to say, oh, no, these poor families, all these financial need families, right? Poor families, right? Actually, you give them religion, things will be fine. I said this is the most simplistic and problematic assumption. You give them religion, things will be fine. Sometimes what deprives them of seeking religious knowledge is the fact that they don't have the financial means to do so. For example, we tell them attend classes at night. At night, they need to work overtime to support their family. They are not earning enough by the day. So that's why they have to work at night. And you're telling them at night, no, you just forget about this working at night, all right? And then you just help your family. You just go for 10 classes. God will help. God will provide. It's easier for you to say. Oh, you can say this because you are provided for. You are financially stable. You always make this, oh, inshallah will help you. No, it's not like that. What the community should do is, in fact, assure that person, okay, you don't have to attend night class. You don't have to work at night. All right. You can attend religious classes, and I will provide the financial support to make that loose end, to tie up that loose end. So why do you need to extra? I need the extra $100 per month to make the bills, to pay my bills. Okay, then you come together to help me out the 100 so that he can go for religious classes at night. But if you're telling him to go for religious classes at night without the assurance that he will be covered for with the $100, it's not easy for him. It's not easy for him. Oh, he might attend the class, but his mind is already thinking about how I'm going to feed my children. Oh, Ustaz, he must have yaqeen, he must have tawakkal, he must have iman. All the rhetorics you can throw because you are not in that position. All these people will say all this, they are not in that position. In fact, when they drop by his house, they are driving in the latest model of car, the Ustaz, the latest model. All right, no relatability. They can't relate. Why don't you, Ustaz, use your car and drive him for class? Every night that you want him to go for class, why don't you do that instead? You understand that now? All right. It's very straightforward. Yeah, the message about being straightforward. So being straightforward now. All right. Let's be honest about that. Are we just going there to rhetoric to people? You help Allah, Allah will help you. Then help this brother. Genuinely help him. Don't just throw rhetorics. Rhetorics won't help him. He wants to be. That's why the Prophet, when one of the companions has a debt, what did the Prophet do? He teaches this person dua. And what is the next thing the Prophet did? The Prophet says, go to your house, find something that is of use, that you can auction it in the market. When he has auction in the market, when he has the money, the Prophet divided the money. Provide for your family with this amount now, buy the tools needed for you to work. Come to see me a few weeks later and update me. Tangible action. The Prophet just decide, you decide these things will be fine. No. It must work together. All right. This is the prophetic way. You do the wrong way to this, just to give them rhetoric, and then after when they do well, it's because they don't have tawakkal. Oh, this is so convenient for you to say that. This is actually talking down. That's why some people become disenchanted. They become disillusioned by religious people. You're not helping me. You're not giving me a solution. In fact, you're beating me down. All right. You're not actually being empathetic towards my situation. Okay. So first is genuine and heartfelt. Second, message is hereafter. Third, all right, when you do da'wah, start with yourself. This is talking about empathy. So if you want to do da'wah, all right, to a person that is having issues in his family, all right, you should put yourself in that person's shoes. Empathize. If I was in a situation, I'm an odd job laborer, all right, I'm not qualified in many things, all right, I just got retrenched, all right, and I have 5 mouths to feed. In this kind of situation, how will I act? How will I deal with this? Will I be able? Now you have to put yourself in the person's shoes. So sorry to say this, sometimes we don't even visit that person. You don't even visit that person. You give the pretext. If you want it, you should look for me. A house visit to a needy person will change your perception of life totally. But we don't even have the time to do that. You visit, sit in the house, sit in a 1-room flat, sit in a 2-room flat, and see how they go by their life every day. See the food they serve you. And then you start to be more appreciative of what people are going through. Oh, we can do da'wah. I'm tired of doing da'wah. MashaAllah, whole day of da'wah. Yes, but you go just on your aircon and you sleep in bed. You on your TV and watch EPL. It's easy for you to say. All right, you don't have the discomfort of having 5 kids sprawl in one common hall with you and your wife. All right. 4, all right, the 4th part, in the summary, there's also a need for you to be aware of the current challenges affecting the community. So that is relatability. You must be aware. You must go down to ground. For you to do this, you need to be well-read, you need to be well-versed. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, most of his time, all right, most of his time when he's doing da'wah, all right, after Zuhur, he goes on a walkabout. He walks to see his people, to see the community. Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Bakr Siddiq, at night, when all their work is done, they take their helpers with them and they go and see the situation at night, the conditions. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't go down to ground. We occasionally go down to ground. Go down to ground and see. All right. And 5, clarity. Like when you give a message, make sure it's clear. All right. Make sure it's clear. Your actions must be clear. Your plan must be clear. All right. In fact, if you're talking to someone, your audience, tell them what. That's why in a good lesson, you always tell the person the objectives first. In any good lesson, what's the objectives? In any good da'wah, you tell, for example, you're helping out a family. This is a plan. This is the roadmap I have. All right, let's work together and help this. I will help you with this one, and then we work towards this. Right? So we don't have this now. All right, we don't have this. Okay. Now, the second characteristic to avoid. All right, now we're going down to page 43. The second characteristic to avoid is that your concern in preaching be not that people become wrought up in your assembly. It's not about the numbers, walking around, all right, like a mafia boss, all right, like Breaking Bad, all right, walking around, your people around you. Okay, no. All right. And show excitement and tear their clothes. Oh, you like that? Some people, they like, the more people respond, they get thrilled by it. Remember, a response that is most important is not during your session. Some people, they say, oh, look at a lot of people turn up. Oh, a lot of people turn up. Oh, people are excited. People are thrilled by when I speak. All right, tears are flowing in your eyes. It's not that. A measure of a good message is when it takes its roots after the session. You can make them cry. They get into a frenzy. They get sad. They get sad. What's the word? They get high. All right. They get spiritualized. All right. But after the session, do they change? Someone can be just looking to you in a lesson, just taking down notes, like Sister Sui and Brother Rashid, and looking at you now, all right, nonchalantly, all right. But then they inside their heart, they have the determination. I'm going to be better after this. That is more effective. Then you have people, all thrilled, wow, Allah. And after that, they don't do anything about it. It's not how you are in the majlis. Okay, in the majlis, you're driven to tears. Or you get into ecstasy. Yes, there is ecstasy. You get into that. Does that translate into action? Most importantly, right? Oh, you get thrilled. Then after that, when they serve biryani, after the biryani, you go home, you're full and you go back to sleep. That's done. You are done. Have a clear plan. All right. So when when you're doing da'wah, it's not about getting, you have a good crowd, alhamdulillah. But what's important is the follow-up. The preacher must have a follow-up, and the person that's attending must have a follow-up. That's why it's important that when you conduct a class, when you conduct a session, when you call to people, you must have tangible follow-up actions. Things to do after this. How can, so for example, if I'm learning this, what can you do after this? How can it translate into proper, tangible, relatable action? It's important. Don't just give things, when things are airy-fairy, it's always easy to react to it. Right? But if you tell them that this is what you can do after this, it's different. You empower people. Right? You empower people. So you see, so that Ibi said, what an assembly this was. They become proud. Oh, mashallah, his son is mashallah, his son is good. No. All right? Don't come to that level. All right? Do not be in awe of the awe that people have of you. Okay? For this is all a product of inclination to this world, which is born from heedlessness. Why? It doesn't reach Allah. It reaches you. It stops at you. And you will stop as well. You will die. It doesn't start. What is eternal is what reaches he who is most eternal. Who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It reaches us for what? We are going back to soil. All right? We are going to be dirt. What's the point? It reaches us and stop. The buck stops with us. No. It must stop at Allah. We are just, as my late teacher used to tell me, we are just like, water from the reservoir. All right? We are just the tap. We are the tap from which people take the water from. We are just the tap. All right? Ultimately, can people still get water without the tap? They still can get it. But we are just easing matters for them so that it's palatable, it's easier for them. We are just trying to make sure things are easy for people. We are not the reservoir. Don't mistake yourself for you are not the reservoir. All right? We are a dried up well. Okay? In fact, your purpose and concern should be to summon people from this world to the hereafter, from disobedience to the obedience, from cupidity to abstinence, from stinginess to generosity, and from delusion to piety. It must be self. Therefore, when you give a message, you must follow up. That's why my teacher, Sheikh Ahmad Al-Azhari, after his session, always ask me, always brother Irwan, always ask us in the car. He says, how's the session? How's the session? How's the session? You must have a feedback for your session. Don't just be happy people turning up. You must be knowing what to do next and follow up with the people. All right? Follow up with them. Ask them. All right? What you plan to do about this after this? The Prophet always follows up with the companions. He tells them the theory. He asks them to act upon it as well. He will ask after Fajr prayers, how many of you have contributed? How many of you have visited the sick? Why? He's trying to tell them that you have learned this, you know this. Why are you not acting upon it? It's important to have a call to action, a tangible call to action. You cannot just be saying, but then there's no proper call to action. Right? There's something that's missing in between. Okay? This is the important part here. This is something we need to clarify today. You must make the hereafter beloved to them and make them hate the world. Oh, Ustaz, look at this one. All right, this was I read somewhere. Someone says, "Oh, this so and so teaches me to hate the world." No. This you must understand. So you must make the hereafter beloved to them and make them hate the world. What does this actually mean? All right, Allah says in the Quran, "Bal tu'thiruna al-hayat dunya wal akhiratu khair wa abqa." All right, you in fact, all right, desire the world, all right, more than the hereafter, when the hereafter is more eternal, is eternal. Allah says in the Quran. But the Prophet also says, "Ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah." All right, this earth, all right, this world that you live in is a chance for you to cultivate and earn its rewards in the hereafter. This is a solid earth, all right. Cultivate good deeds, get this on the hereafter. So the point here is that you must understand what it means here is that a life that is devoid of thought of the hereafter is what we should not seek to have. All right, a hedonist world. What's a hedonist world? You hate a world whereby the world doesn't serve you for the akhirat. That's the world you should hate. All right, anything that is of no benefit to you. So you must break down the two. What do you mean by hating the world? Hating falling into sins. All right. وَكَرِّهْ إِلَيْنَا الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْإِسْيَانَ. All right. Oh Allah, the Prophet says, make all right, disbelief, something that's hated to me, all right, making the lack of faith something that's hated to me, right, that I don't that I dislike, all right, wal fusuqa, all right, wal isyan, misdeeds, all right, evil, all right, doing haram things is something I don't like. So when you're talking about hating the world, you hate the aspect of the world that makes you plunge into sins. That's what you hate, right? You hate gambling, because gambling will plunge you into sins. You hate fornication. You hate fornication. You hate zina. Right? You hate because why you hate oppression. You hate injustice because why these are things, all right, that compromises the world that we live in. It compromises people. This undermines people. You hate that. All right. And you hate the world. The second part, what do you hate about the world? You hate the part of the world where it doesn't benefit you. You love sleep, but you hate excessive sleep. You enjoy your food, but you don't like a food that is a table spread for just one person. So this is hatred, not hatred of the world holistically. Because in the world that you live in now, you have pious people, you have righteous people, you have your family members, you have your friends. These are people that you should not hate because they are means to your hereafter. And technically also, that some scholars put this argument. It's a very beautiful argument. Yes, the hereafter is more important than this world because why? It is where your fate is determined. Right? The hereafter is important. Why? Because you decide whether you go to hell or to heaven. That's why it's important. But what determines whether you enter heaven or hell? The world. How you do on this world determines how you fare in the hereafter. So technically, actually, is the world important? The world is important. The world is important. All right. The hereafter is important by virtue of the fact that that's when you can be judged upon. That's when you're going to be made accountable for. That's when you know whether you end up in hell or in heaven. But what then is on what basis are you decided upon and how you perform on this world in this world? So the world is actually important. So stop listening to people say, oh, the world is not important, hereafter is more important. Quit work. Leave your family, pursue the akhirat. If you love your family, you take all of them to akhirat. You don't just save yourself and you leave your family behind, scavenging for life. All right, that's not da'wah. All right. Teach them the science of worship. What sense of worship? More science. You guys. Fiqh. How to do your salat, how to do your hajj. This is fiqh. F-I-Q-H, fiqh. And renunciation. What's renunciation? All right, renunciation means tawbah. Renunciation means what? Renunciation is basically coming together, is putting together reflection and repentance. If I want to put renunciation in a simple word, it is reflection and repentance. You reflect, oh, I did this wrong. I could have done this better. All right, astaghfirullah. I repent and I make myself better. Because their temperaments lean towards deviation from the way of religion and indulging in what is displeasing to Allah. Because the tendency of our desire is to do things that are either haram or a waste of time. The latest thing is our on the phone. You can roll and you want to spend time, right? Just take out your phone and look at clips after clips, shots after shots on YouTube. You can see that 30 minutes pass, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. You can just do that. One clip after another. You can just go. Imagine if that is translated to page after page of the Quran without realizing it. Page after page of a book. If the Quran is so heavy for you to read, start with the book. Grab a book to read. We can't even read the book. Committee doesn't read books. I did a social experiment. I took a train and looked. MashaAllah, no one is reading a book. No one reads a book. If I'm lucky, occasionally I take in one carriage, I have one or two people that have a book to read. People don't read books anymore. People just don't read. Ustaz, they're reading e-books. No, it's not e-books. If you're on your thing and you're moving anything all the time and you're smiling to yourself, it can't be an e-book. All right. If you start to beat your thighs with your hand in frustration, it can't be an e-book. No book have an effect on you. All right. MashaAllah. Either read. All right. Don't talk about the Quran yet. Easier one. Quran might be too heavy for you. Any genre. Read book. I want to see somebody. You don't engage in. We don't even engage in the most minimal of knowledge now. People don't read anymore. All right. People don't read anymore. Be quite amazing if you see someone reading a comic book. Alright. Cast awe into their hearts and warn them, all right, of fearful matters to come. Their inner characteristics may change and their outward dealings may improve. Maybe they will show yearning to obey and to withdraw from disobedience. This then is the correct way to preach. Now, take note of this. If you're going to tell people to renounce, all right, things which is haram, of no benefit, this is one of the things in da'wah. You must give alternatives. You must give them, if this is not right, what is right? Which is the Prophet ﷺ is, laqad kana lakum fi Rasulillah uswatun hasan. He's the best of example. What do you mean by that? He provides the example. What does that mean? The mushrikins of Makkah, the ignorant people in Makkah, all right, the jahilis, all right, they are people who show ignorant action, sinful action. The Prophet is an example to show what is proper action, what is proper mannerisms. So you cannot tell people, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, this is haram. But what is the halal then? So if you're calling people to Islam, calling people to goodness, show to them what is permissible. And you must also show if something is of no benefit or something is of little benefit, show them therefore what is considered beneficial. Which is why I say now, with the conflict that's happening in Gaza, for example, in the Middle East, we're talking about oppression. Oppression is a repeated word now. It's oppression, oppression. Yes. So we have highlighted to people, this is what oppression looks like. What is lacking here? We should show the world what a good leadership looks like. Then that will win the case. One reason why people are not convinced is because you are pointing one thing. This is bad. This is oppression. Okay, then what is good leadership? We are not showing it. You'll get more people on the side on the side of justice if you can actually show them a fair, you can show them a proper, a complete argument. So now you're saying, yeah, this is evil, but then what is a good model is theoretical thus far. We need to tell people what is a good model, therefore. If this is oppression, what is tolerance? If this is oppression, what is fair and just leadership? Show it. The Muslim world has not shown it. And when I talk about the Muslim world, it's not just talking about those people, the governance. You're talking about as human, as people in our own capacities. Have we been fair to our family members? Have we been fair if you're given a post at your workplace? Have you been fair to those people, your subordinates? It all starts from us, you know. It's not, you're looking at those people up there, they are busy doing their stuff, all right? But it starts from us. We can't be saying we are against oppression when it happens in that part of the world, but in our own household, we are oppressing our own family members. In our own estate, we are oppressing our neighbors, depriving them of their right to sleep when we play the music out loud. We are depriving our own subordinates of their freedom of the weekend when we text them and ask them to do work on the weekend. You can't talk about oppression there, and then you have double standards for your own oppression that you're implementing on others. It will only work out if you can actually show what zero oppression is. So every time that's why it's important to have a model, a working model. Every time you tell people, don't do this, what is a working model? And the working model is the Prophet ﷺ. But the Prophet ﷺ's model is still very much is something that's distant, 1,400 years ago. How do you live up to that model? You become the model then. That's why the Prophet is an example for us to emulate. That emulation is the model that you're going to show to people. Okay. And what is the outcome? Last point. At the end of the day, how do you gauge whether it's successful or not? Two things. The outcomes, all right, is devotion. Increase devotion and better mannerism. When you call people to goodness, what is the outcome? That person, so if you're talking about family, is troubled on all fronts. All right. What is the outcome that is desired of them? You see that they now have more connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, also, as parents, as husbands, as spouses, as children, they have a more responsible take on how they should function towards people around them. They become better mannered. That is the gauge of a successful da'wah. People become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and people start to be well mannered towards Allah's creations. You have this, da'wah successful. Having big numbers, not a gauge. It's a gauge of good marketing. But what's a good gauge? All these people that come, they become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people that come, they transform society to become better. Do we see that? No. We have big numbers attending big events, but then we still have the big problems in society today. I mean, something is missing in between. Right? Something is missing in between. Allahu Ta'ala a'lam. Stop here. So inshallah, I'm hoping, all right. Just telling you, okay, next week is the last week of class. All right. So just an important announcement, right? I'm hoping to finish this book this year. All right. I'm hoping to finish this book this year. All right. So means in short, I hope to finish this book next week. All right, I have to finish this book next week. So what's going to happen next week is that I've discussed with brother Irwan and sister Zura. Right, they are not well today, so we make dua for them. All right. Next week we will start. All right. We will start at okay, brother Irwan. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull this off. I'm suggesting for next week we start at 9, not 9:30, 9. Because I'm looking at the volume that we're going to cover. All right. We start at 9 next week. 9 to 11. So it's 2 hours special next week, which means that next week the crowd will be only 3 people. All right. All right. We'll try to push for this is an example. So it's not how you start. Remember when Ayul Walad started? Oh, mashallah, people have to admit. And when it's okay, so at the end of the day, but I'm having good thoughts that those who can't attend, they are going to follow it online. They're going to follow the recordings. All right. So next week, tell your friends. Last session. All right. We will announce inside the group next last session of Ayuhal Walad, and then we will start at 9. All right. We will start at 9, and we'll end at 11. All right. We'll start at 9, and then we'll end at 11. So 2 hours. Oh, so long. I was like, it's not you who's talking. I'm going to be talking for 2 hours. Inshallah, there'll be a break in between, 15 or 10 minutes break. I'm the one talking. You just need to listen. Or you want to take over. You practice the preaching part that I covered just now, and then I listen and I see whether it's good or not. All right. So hopefully, all right. So inshallah, next week 9, we start at 9 o'clock. All right, inshallah. And after that, we'll finish it. We hope to finish the book by this book. At least now you can say, oh, I finished Ayuhal Walad. All right, finish Ayuhal Walad. And some of you are asking what's the program for Ihsan Institute. It will be out next year. We will tell you next year you'll see inshallah some good programs, all right, on the education front from us, all right, that is beneficial, all right, that will encompass practical things like marriage, all right, lifestyle, all right, and some content on the Burda as well, inshallah. All right, so thank you for those who attended today. So remember, next week is inshallah 9 to 11 o'clock. But I was thinking 9:30 initially, but I look at this, we're going to have 9 to 11. All right, okay. Not that I don't want to see you guys anymore next year, but I just want to end properly this year. All right. Thank you everyone. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Ustaz.
Thank you.